So for this devotion, I wanted to say a couple of things, and typing it out just did not seem quite effective enough. So I made a video, which I will not edit. It's going out exactly like this. So there's just two things that I wanted to share with you guys. The first thing is that we shouldn't live our lives holding on to lies that other people have said about us, but that is not actually God's truth for our life. So what made me think of this, I was actually telling a friend of mine, Wendy, about years ago. I had a roommate, and she wasn't mean or whatever, but I was, doing my crazy thing, being her roommate as a 14-year-old, and somewhere along the line, she said to me the one day, you're very creative. You are very creative, but you are not artistic. And she wasn't being nasty. She just hadn't seen that I was autistic. So she was just stating what she considered to be a fact. And I sort of, when she said it, I picked it up, if that makes sense. And I actually carried that for a long time, that I thought to myself, and I thought of myself, that I'm a creative person, but I'm not an artistic person. And if it comes to painting or drawing or whatever, that's not really my vibe. I can do decorating or whatever other stuff, but I'm not artistic. And somewhere along the line, God came and he started speaking to me about, who do I say you are? Who do I say you are? And so I started sort of touching onto this artistic thing. And as you guys know, I'm an art teacher now. And I just thought the other day about that story, and I thought how much joy I would have missed, because I really love art. I love drawing and I love painting. And I thought if I'd held on to that lie that someone else had said about me, that this is not something that you can do, I would have missed, besides work-wise, I would have missed the joy of doing something that God had actually put in me. And there's a scripture in Psalm 139 that speaks about how God knows us. And just the first verse says, "O Lord, you have searched me and known me." God knows us. So people can say stuff about us, and it can have massive implications. So, I mean, this is art. This isn't like a major life-changing thing, but it's still part of a gift that God has given me that I could have missed out on. But when we carry things that other people say about us that aren't true, about bigger things, we can believe things about rejection, we can believe things about fear, that we have to be the ones that keep ourselves safe. And when we believe things like that other people have said about us, and we take it as truth when it's not God's truth about us, we can have huge disadvantage in our relationships, in our connection with God, whether we think we can go to God or not. Lots, just everything. And it's something that I really want to encourage everyone to have a look at what you believe about yourself and about the world and about God and about everything, and to be like, is this even true? Is it true? Or is it something that I've picked up that someone has said, or that I even just thought about myself and I'm carrying it, but it's not actually the truth? And how much could you be missing out of? How much freedom could you be missing out of? How much joy could you be missing out of because you're holding on to this thing that isn't actually even a truth? And then the second thing that I just wanted to talk about is that it's super important to listen to what God has to say about you in every season, especially dark seasons. We all go through times where things just feel dark and hopeless, and like everything is just too much. But in every season, God is speaking to us in different ways, speaking to us in different ways, and a different amount of speaking that he's doing. Sometimes he talks a lot, and sometimes he just gives one word or one phrase or something. But God's always speaking to us. And so I just want to encourage you to hear what God has to say. In the Bible, it also says, I don't know where right now, but when we draw close to God, he draws close to us. And sometimes we think we have to be healthy to get to God. Like, okay, cool, I'll get to God once I've sorted out X, Y, and Z. But Jesus said that he didn't come for the healthy, he came for the sick. And so when we're in a place where we feel like we're not good enough for God, that's exactly the time when we should go to God, because that's when he wants us back. And I was just thinking, I went through a really, really tough time the beginning of this year. And so I was still reading my Bible and doing my thing, but I was like suckling. Like, it was really, really, really rough. And as I'm going through this thing, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, geez, God, what the what? Like, I feel like I'm doing what you've told me to do. I'm trying to live, as well as I can, blah, blah, blah. Like, what's up with this? I almost felt like I was being punished for, if you got punished for something that you didn't do wrong. That's what I felt like. But I was still carrying on and whatever. And the one day I was running, or, my attempt at running. And while I'm busy running and I'm out of breath and like half dying, I get this word from God, and he just says to me, gold has to go through fire. It's not punishment, it's purification. despite my best efforts, I'm still gonna have to edit this video because my alarm went off. Anyway, so he said gold has to go through fire. It's not punishment, it's purification. And when someone says something that's just really spot on and they just touch a nerve, and that's what it felt like as I was running and out of breath, and he said this thing, and I just got so emotional. It felt like a flippin' asthma attack. But it was just this thing that I realized, this is not a punishment, this is a purification. And because I heard that word from God at that time, it changed my whole experience of that trial, because it was a hectic trial. It was a time of fire, of going through really tough things. But because God had spoken to me about it, the way that I experienced it was completely different. Because then I looked and I was like, okay, God's put something good in me. This fire is not going to kill me. This fire is going to clean me. This fire is going to take stuff that's in me that shouldn't be there and burn it up. And when you're made out of, when you know that God's put good things in you, which He has done for all of us, we've all got gold in us. And when we know that, then we experience the fire differently. In Isaiah 43 verse 2, it says, by the way, you should just read the whole of Psalm 139 and just memorize it because it's amazing. But in Isaiah 43 verse 1, it says, when you pass through the waters, when, not if, when you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And through the rivers, they shall not overwhelm you. When you walk through fire, you shall not be burned, and the flame shall not consume you. And I like that God saying it's not a if, it's a when. It's going to happen. It's going to be tough. There's going to be fire seasons. But that, first of all, He goes with us through those seasons. And second of all, that it won't consume you. But you need to know that when you're going through it. And so I just want to encourage you, whatever season you're going through, ask God for a word while you're going through that season. Ask Him for it. And it's incredible how God speaks. Some people say they've never heard God speak before and He doesn't speak to them. You know what's useful is time. If we don't give God time, He can't speak. It's like it's the currency. It's the currency of hearing from God is time. So going through hard seasons, if you're feeling like this isn't where I need to be, I'm not living, it feels like I'm out of place, ask God for what does He want to say to you about where you're at the moment, and then take the time to listen. Whether it's a walk half an hour a day, or half an hour quiet coffee in the morning and just listening, or just reading something from the Bible. Take that time to hear from God, because He wants to speak to us. And 1,000 words from people cannot say and cannot do what one word from God can do for us, because He knows us. He knows us, and He knows what we need. He knows where we're at, and He knows where He wants us to go to. He's got the most unique perspective, and He has the best plan for you. Your plans suck. Yes, that isn't a scripture, but it's true. Your plans suck. But God's plans for you are good. And when you go to Him, in whatever state you're in, however far you feel you've been from Him, He comes here. He comes to you and He speaks to you. So yeah, enjoy your day. Have a fantastic week. Ciao.